made redundant. It's really hard, quite lonely, so many benefits. There's no HR department working until 11 p.m.
Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I thought I would film a bit of a different kind of video today. No cooking, no vlogging, just a sit down chatty video all about my time as a freelancer. I used to think that people turned to freelancing when they were very established in their career, maybe 5-10 years into their career. However, that's definitely not always the case. I'm an example of that, and I know lots of freelancers in their 20s who are successful in their niches as well. So for those of you who don't know, I'm 26, I live in London, and I've been a freelance creative for the last 3 to 4 years. So that's things like copywriting, digital marketing, social media management, photo editing, video editing, all of the above. And I recently parted ways with my longest freelance client, which has kind of had me reflecting on my time as self-employed. If you're thinking of going freelance, you've just gone freelance, I hope in sharing my experience I can give you some tips and some advice and just share some things that I found along the way. So to give you some context with my background, I went to university here in London. I studied multimedia journalism, so much more about creating content for digital platforms and social media as opposed to writing newspapers, writing magazines, that kind of thing. So throughout that course, I learned a whole load of creative and digital skills, whether that's video editing, photo editing, copywriting, storytelling, the basics of website management, etc, etc. So I left that course not really a full-blown expert in any of those skills, but more of a sort of jack of all trades, could kind of do a little bit of everything, and importantly actually enjoyed doing a little bit of everything rather than focusing in on one skill. I actually find that to be quite useful in creative jobs, to be able to sort of jump in, roll your sleeves up and help out with quite a lot of different things. Anyway, I found it quite tricky to get a degree related job fresh out of uni, so I continued working at my part-time cafe job, part-time to full-time, and I actually really enjoyed that job, and of course took it upon myself to put my skills to use a little bit, whether that's taking on the social media channels, updating the website, helping with design elements, just to get any kind of creative experience under my belt. Right before the pandemic, I moved to Brighton. I got another hospitality job to sort of tide me over that time. The pandemic struck and I was made redundant. I do not do well doing nothing. It was very stressful, rock bottom kind of time for me. Rent to pay, no job. It was pretty awful, but it actually sort of lit a fire within me to get out there. Ironically, we couldn't leave the house, but virtually get out there and just try and get something going. In a nutshell, after a lot of graft, I went from doing little one-off creative jobs that I found on the internet, and I really mean like, here's 30 quid to turn a podcast into an article. Somehow went from that to landing a freelance contract with a communications agency, and through there connected with people, networked with other freelancers, gradually got put forward for more jobs and reached out to people on my own accord, got more jobs. 4 years later, I've been very lucky to work across food, fashion, beauty, charity, more sort of corporate comms as well. So let's get into setting yourself up. There's lots of sort of legalities and boring admin that you have to do when you go self-employed, and also probably heavily dependent on what country you live in, so I will sort of brush over that. You need to decide if you're going to be a sole trader or you're going to be set up as a limited company. Pros and cons to both. Before taking the leap into freelancing, a lot of the advice out there will tell you to have a good few months worth of savings under your belt to fall back on. However, sometimes, and especially in my case, that just was not realistic or possible. But of course, it goes without saying, if you have some money in the bank, naturally you're going to be a little bit less stressed and you can enjoy the process of finding clients a bit more. Now it's time to think about you and your sort of mini brand as a freelancer, and you can really take this as far as you want, but at the very least I would recommend making a professional email address with a professional email signature and having some kind of online portfolio, CV, website, something that you can send on to people when you're reaching out and trying to find work. You could obviously take this a lot further and have a fully fledged website with a logo and professional social media channels and all of that kind of thing. But I would say in the beginning, keep it easy, don't create too much extra work for yourself, and just have the basics. I would also recommend creating some kind of template invoices, contracts, email send outs, just to save time and to make the process a bit smoother. I would also recommend putting pen to paper and having a bit of a think about your values and how you want to work as a freelancer. For example, do you want to work in a more project focused style? So that's more like, okay, here's the task, you've got 2 weeks to do it, speak to you in 2 weeks, and your fee is per project? Or would you prefer a more day rate working style? So that's very much more like, I work for this company on a Monday, 9 to 5, they can reach me all day long, I'm available via email, and I'm paid by the day. Similar to being an employee. Pros and cons to each. I personally do like a bit of structure, and I like to know in my mind, okay, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday I'm working for this company, Thursday, Friday I'm working for that company. But I have also worked project style, and I definitely did enjoy the flexibility of that. So it's completely up to you. Talking of money, you are going to need to have a think about what your rates are going to be and how flexible you're willing to be. I literally had no idea in the beginning how much to charge. I would start from scratch and look at your outgoings every single month. What is the bare minimum you need? Rent, bills, food, water. What's the bare minimum you need to cover all your bills? In tandem, also remember, you are valuable, you are someone who has a skill, and you do deserve to be compensated fairly for that. As a freelancer, no one is paying your pension, nobody's paying your holiday pay, no one's paying your sick pay, no one's buying you a laptop. So you really need to factor all of this in. Spoiler alert, you should probably be charging more than you're thinking. When I first started freelancing, my rate was extremely low because not only was I new to this style of working, I also just didn't know what to charge. I found out what my colleagues and peers were charging, I was shook. It can be a bit of a taboo subject, but sometimes you've just got to ask. So how on earth do you find your freelance clients when you're fresh out of uni or you have a very limited CV? I'm not gonna lie, it's really hard. First and foremost, the internet is gonna be your best friend. It's the biggest tool. There are so many online resources and websites out there that you can use to find freelance jobs, or at the very least, connect with other freelancers in your niche. You need to be really on it with LinkedIn, Facebook groups, online forums, and trying to seek out people in your field that could be a good contact for you. You could definitely also do a little bit of sleuthing. So think of a small company that you'd love to work for, and then go on LinkedIn, find the head of marketing, find the head of brand, something like that, and connect with them and be ballsy and send them a message and say, hey, this is me, da 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 da. I'd love to know if you're taking on any freelancers at the moment. You could be exactly what this company are looking for. That first freelance job I got, where it was a contract with an agency, I literally found that job on a Facebook group. The head of social media at that company put out a post saying, I'm looking for freelancers, drop your name and email address below and get in touch, kind of thing. I would also encourage you to think a little bit outside the box and explore your local area and local businesses in your area. Obviously, this is very dependent on what your niche and skills are. Say there is a new restaurant opening in your town, you've had a look online, you can see their website needs images, you can see their social media channels need help. Get out there, send them a message, and offer your services. Remember that a perk of using freelancers for a company is it's sort of a no strings attached, you're paid for your job and that's it kind of situation, which could be perfect for a new business that doesn't want too many people on the payroll, and you know, hiring you as a freelance photographer could be exactly what they need to do. In a similar vein, just reach out to your local network, friends, family, friends of friends. No pressure, just this is me, I'm a new freelancer, this is my website, here's my portfolio, here's what I can do to help you. And you never know who knows who and who could be in need of some help. So, not to scare you, but I wanted to share a few harsh realities or things they don't tell you. The first thing straight off the bat, regardless of your niche and skills, is that there's a lot of sort of boring hidden admin tasks behind the scenes of your freelancing business, not just when you start but through the whole duration of your time as a freelancer. Things like taxes, invoicing, all the little tasks behind the scenes, that's on you. Unless you are a very numbers based person and you're very on it with that kind of thing, I would 100% recommend working with an accountant, and they are on hand to give you advice and most importantly help you with your taxes and your tax returns. However, even when you have an accountant, be prepared to spend a lot of time filling in spreadsheets, keeping track of everything. As I mentioned before, you are not going to be getting holiday pay, sick pay, anything like that. Factor all of that in when you're working out your rate. I would also recommend trying as hard as you can to shed your old mindsets with freelancing, especially around job security. I used to think freelancing was, you know, taking on odd jobs here and there and not knowing if you're going to have any money coming in next month. However, I sign ongoing contracts with my clients, so if they do decide they don't need you anymore, there is sort of a notice period, which would be the same if you were full-time employed anyway. When it comes to money and your rates, be prepared to negotiate. However, disassociate that from your personal worth. If someone doesn't want to pay you your day rate, it's up to you whether to proceed and negotiate a lower rate or step back. Sorry, that's my price. If you can't pay that, then that's it, you can't afford it. On the flip side, especially early in your career, be prepared to take an L if it means the potential of opening up connections and sort of getting more jobs further down the line. If there's a company you really want to work for but they just will not budge on the budget, you might want to think about, okay, could I justify a slightly lower day rate just to get in with them, and then who knows where that could take you. There's a couple of points I wanted to make on the more sort of social side of things. If you're a freelancer working amongst a team where some people are employed and some people are freelance, just sort of be prepared to not feel like 100% part of the team. You are, not that you're disposable, but you're most likely brought in to do a job, get it done, and that's it. So there's not really like a social side of that. Obviously it completely varies on who you're working for, and maybe it says more about who you're working for if there's not a great deal of sort of morale or social elements amongst your workday. Of course, that's just heightened from working from home and being remote. It can be quite lonely. You need to be really in charge of your own schedule, be disciplined. You've sort of got to look out for yourself. There's no HR department giving a shit about your well-being. You have to be on top of that on your own. I do sometimes find difficult is that friends my age who, you know, are full-time employed somewhere, maybe they have an office they go to a few days a week, going on work socials and having fun at the office with their colleagues. Meanwhile, you're at home remote working, and no one's really asking how your day is. So I wanted to round off this video with some good habits that I recommend you get into if you're going to take the leap into freelancing. There's kind of like a blur between good habits for working from home and remote working and good habits for being a freelancer. Working out your routine. What is your day going to look like? What's your week going to look like? What's your month going to look like? Really map out in the calendar who are you working for and when. What date are you going to send off your invoices? What day are you going to put together your invoices? What time of the month are you going to be updating all your spreadsheets? Are you going to do it weekly? Are you going to do it monthly? I personally like to sort of work as closely to how it would be as a full-time member of staff. I wake up, I go for my morning walk, I'm at my desk for 9, I take a lunch break, I go to the gym, I get out the house, I come back, carry on working. Something I found when I first started freelancing was that I was a bit of a yes woman. Maybe that's also because I was young. I ended up taking on way too much work to the point where I would be working until 11 p.m, sometimes later. It can't happen anymore. It's just not good for you to do that. You need to have boundaries and separation. If you come across other freelancers or you work with other freelancers, I would very much recommend meeting up to work together if you live in the same city, just to sort of get out the house and talk with someone who's in the same situation as you, have a laptop day somewhere, go to a cafe for the afternoon, and obviously do your work, but enjoy a bit of that sort of social interaction as well. As your experience grows, keep your portfolio up to date. Keep tabs on any nice feedback. Don't be afraid to ask people for testimonials, that kind of thing. Not only will it give you a bit of a pep in your step when you're having a not so good day, it's just really helpful for updating your portfolio, your CV, and finding new clients. If you're a freelance creative person, I would really recommend that you find something outside of work that you can still express yourself creatively. So for me, making these videos, making Instagram reels, making TikToks, that for me is like a fun little creative output. It doesn't need to make money, doesn't need to have anyone's approval. It can just be for fun. If a client is no longer serving you, you don't enjoy it anymore, reevaluate. Do I want to be doing this? Yes, the money's good, but I'm bored out of my mind every day. It might be time to refresh your portfolio, take a step back, have a little think about what you want to do next, and yeah, pause, reflect, and maybe move on to something else. Finally, remember why you are doing this, why you are freelancing. There are so many benefits, there's so many pros. Don't get stuck in something and act like a full-time employee when you're not being paid to be a full-time employee. That will do nothing but damage your mental health and kind of opens the door for people to take advantage of you. So thank you so much for listening. I hope in sharing my experience that has been helpful. I hope I just haven't blabbered on. Maybe you can let me know some of your top tips in the comment section below. I would love to hear them. Being self-employed is a huge topic. There is so much more I could get into, but that is sort of in a nutshell some things that come to mind as I've been reflecting on my time as a freelancer over the last few years. Oh, I just wanted to recommend a few books actually. I won't go into a whole spiel and I'll leave some links below where you can find out more about them. But first of all, Emma Gannon, she is an amazing writer, podcast host, broadcaster, author, all of the above. This was the first book I read by her, The Multi-Hyphen Method, Work Less, Create More, and Design a Career That Works for You. This is so good, and it says on the back here, if you've been itching to convert your craft into a career or side hustle into a startup, then The Multi-Hyphen Method is for you. And then she also has these smaller books which I really enjoyed. We've got Sabotage, How to Silence Your Inner Critic and Get Out Your Own Way, and also Disconnected, How to Stay Human in an Online World. A lot of my work is around social media and online content, so I just found these books really helpful. I also really recommend this book, You're the Business by Anna Codrea-Rado, How to Build a Successful Career When You Strike Out Alone. This lady actually came in and did a talk in my second year of uni. It says on the back here, freelancing has never been so popular. Flexible hours, a better work-life balance, and greater sense of self-worth, all on your own terms. But once you've decided to strike out on your own, the reality sinks in. Where can you turn for help? How do you deal with a knotty client? And how do you promote your work when you feel like an imposter? Anna is a journalist, and she actually came into my university and did a talk for us in my second year of uni, and she was essentially made redundant from Vice, decided to go freelance, and yeah, she's a really successful freelancer now. I'm gonna go now because I've been talking for way too long. Thank you so much for watching, listening. If you like this kind of video, please do let me know, and I will see you again very soon.